to the Polar Homestead. We learn finance, permaculture and prepping, a modern view of the world. Don't forget, freedom is in your hands. Stay safe and vigilant, friends. And now your host, Ralph KK. Launch in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Found some eyes that see me from the inside. Nothing left to hide, not even from myself. Oh, 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 oh. I wanna call you feel our worlds collide, and we'll be holding on to the morning dawn, darling. We together, holding on. Tell me what you want, darling. We together, you and me.
Welcome to the apocalypse. It is me, your host, Ralph KK. And today I have a question for you. A very deep and meaningful question, a philosophical question. Can you tell me, what does it mean to be wealthy today? To be truly wealthy? Does it mean to have like a bunch of money? Does it mean to have like some kind of security? Or does it mean to have a family or something like this? What is the true meaning of wealth today in the year 2022? As you might have noticed, all around you, the world is falling apart. We are in the pre-apocalypse, or the preview to the apocalypse, or maybe we're in the apocalypse already and we just don't know it yet. There is a delayed value of what is happening. If you know something about history, you might have heard about the Weimar Republic. This was around or before the First World War, something like the year 1915, 1910, something around this time. Sometime around this time. And in this place, the Weimar Republic, previously called and today called Germany. In this place there was rampant hyperinflation. You could see, or you can see pictures of people carrying like big stacks of paper bills of money, like literally boxes and boxes of paper bills. And you needed like trillions and trillions of this money to buy like a loaf of bread or a jug of milk or butter. So if you go to the internet and you Google Weimar Republic, you will see pictures of people in different places, in different circumstances, and you will see them carrying stacks and bags of paper bills. and hyperinflation, it was so terrible that literally the money was worth nothing. So people that were millionaires or billionaires in this old currency, and they could not even buy a loaf of bread. So how would you answer the question, what is wealth? What is the definition of to be wealthy today in the year 2022? Currently, the earth or humanity is going through the really difficult times. And it seems that we are just at the beginning of these calamities. And these calamities might last for several years, even decades. So are you prepared to survive the apocalypse? So basically today in the year 2022, what was considered before to be wealthy, tomorrow or next year maybe, will be considered to be like in a really bad place. For example, today you might have like a penthouse in New York worth a couple $1 million, yeah? In New York City prime real estate, yeah? But next year, depending on the circumstances, the wealthy people will be those who have some land where they can grow food, where they can grow crops, where they can have some livestock, where they can put fences and fence around their property and go into exile away from the rest of the world. So what today is considered to be wealthy, next year might be considered to be very unlucky. Like if society really collapses, urban centers will be like really bad places to live in or to stay in. The first places to really go crazy gonna be the big cities. Like New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, all these big cities, they're gonna be a little bit crazy when society collapses. So maybe, just maybe, if you're a farmer today, or if you live outside in the wilderness and you have some land, these people will be considered the wealthy people of tomorrow, of today. Even today, those people who have land, who grow food for themselves, they are like already in a very good position today. And if you don't have any kind of debts, then you're like bulletproof, I would say. In my own personal circumstances, let me tell you that I have a small little piece of land somewhere near the North Pole, and I have packed up the land with food-giving plants, trees, bushes, all kinds of stuff. Everything is so packed up together that it looks like some kind of forestry jungle in the middle of the forest. I don't know, but the amount of food that I get out of this little piece of land is just ridiculous. I follow the principles of permaculture. It means that you put plants or crops that will give you food permanently for several seasons, for several years. And just the amount of food that I get out of my plant, it's ridiculous. Like this season, this summer, I got something like, let's say, my blackcurrant bushes, which are, sometimes they just go crazy. This year they gave me something like 50 kilograms of berries. Can you imagine that? I was literally eating fresh berries for one whole month. And then what was left, what I put aside, I had to make a jam, and then some of that also, of the fresh berries, I had to freeze them. So I had to put some in the freezer, I had to make jams, And then I had to eat like a bunch of fresh black currants, and I had to bake it and cook it and use it all. The amount of food that I got from there was ridiculous. Also, my pear trees. I mean, I live in a very cold climate, and somehow I managed to acclimate the pear trees, yeah? So my pear trees, I have a couple of them, and I don't know how many kilograms I got. Let's say from 60 to 100 kilograms of pears. And then again the same problem, I just didn't know what to do with this huge amount of food. I had to make jam, I had to freeze some, I had to give away some, I had to eat pears. Just a ridiculous amount. The trick here is that if you want to grow food, you can grow food. You don't need to have some huge or big piece of land. You can have something small, let's say 10 meters by 10 meters. This is something modest and small. 10 meters by 10 meters piece of land where you can put a bunch of stuff there. Or even if you don't have any piece of land, you can grow food indoors, in some balcony, in some greenhouse, even inside your house you can grow food. The main idea here is that you need to get busy, you need to have the desire to grow food. Because time's gonna get hard. I mean, it's not just me saying this, like most people who are in the know, they know that we have at least 10 more years, at least 10 years of difficult times, at least. So you better get prepping today, because you still have time. Even today, if you start prepping today, you still have time. There is shortages here and there of stuff, but you can still find stuff if you really want to. The main point here is to have the desire to do something for yourself or for your own safety or for your family. The most basic thing that you could do is to grow potatoes. But potatoes, the usual potatoes, they need to be grown outside because, yeah, the plants are poisonous, and the green potatoes, they are poisonous. Or you can grow sweet potatoes. You know, batatas from hot climates, these big, huge tubers called sweet potatoes. There you can grow them indoors. The key here is that it is not how much dirt or space to grow you have. The key here for sweet potatoes is to have a lot of light. So even if you live in a place where there is not a lot of light, you just grow some light bulbs. For sweet potatoes, you need something like, let's say 3,000 to 5,000 lumens. This is enough for your plants to grow. And with this amount of light, 3,000 to 5,000 lumens, this is enough for you to get tubers, big, nice, sweet potatoes. The plant of the sweet potato, it is not poisonous, and all the new, young, tender shots of the plant, you can eat it. It tastes something like spinach, some kind of wild spinach, but it's actually tasty and very nutritious. You would not believe how nutritious it is. So get growing your sweet potatoes and it will not disappoint you. Just remember, the key is to have a lot of light. 3,000 to 5,000 lumens and a lot of fertilizer. If you use organic fertilizer, this is even better. What I personally do is all my coffee grounds, all my used coffee grounds, all of them, they go straight to my sweet potato bags. the used coffee grounds, they are very high in nitrogen. Nitrogen is key for leafy growth, for green growth. So you start with nitrogen for the sweet potato plant to start growing like crazy, and then once it's established, like say 1 month, 2 months, and you have like a bunch of green foliage, then you have to switch to a fertilizer to increase the growth of the tubers themselves. So like around month and a half or 2 months, you have to give the sweet potatoes, you have to fertilize them with potassium. The potassium, what's going to do, it's gonna make the tubers to start growing, to start developing, and eventually at the end of the cycle you will have some nice big tubers, some nice big sweet potatoes. So don't forget potassium for the sweet potatoes. Also, you know, there are a lot of things that you can grow indoors. It's all about to have some dedicated space where you can put your plants, and about lighting. So like I said, 3,000 to 5,000 lumens, this is enough for a acceptable growth cycle. You really don't need to overdo it. 5,000 plus the usual light that you would get from the outside should be enough. I mean, the sun itself, it produces different spectrums of light. So just by using light bulbs, you might not get the full spectrum of light that your plants need. That's why if you put them like near a window or in the balcony, you would get the necessary light necessary for your plants to grow. Although, tell me, have you ever heard of people eating cactuses? Have you ever heard of people eating cactus? There is a cactus in Mexico called nopales, or of the family Opuntia. It's something like a kind of like a flat palm-sized cactus that has been grown as a crop for hundreds of years, from the ages of the Aztecs. So let's say 1,000 years as a crop at least. So because of this, this specific cactus has been made to have almost no needles, no spikes. They have some, but when you clean the product, the final crop, you take away these needles, and they are usually easy to take away. So they are sporadic, let's say each 3 centimeters, let's say 3 centimeters spaces between the needles. So you usually take it away with a knife, and then you have a nice piece of tasty cactus that you can eat. And believe it or not, this plant, it is magical. You can literally plant it anywhere, and you literally don't need to take care of it, and it will grow and produce a lot of food. In some countries, actually, they use this cactus, the nopales. They use this cactus in to actually push away the desert or arid lands, to push it away and stop the process of desertification. In the Middle East, in many countries, like Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, and a bunch of them, they use this specific cactus to push away the desert, so that the process it stops. So what this plant does, it grows and it kind of keeps the moisture in the sand, in the dirt, you would say. And they have been using this plant for at least documented for 50 years or something, to push away the desert and to reverse the effect of fertile land turning into desert. So you could say that this plant is magical, this cactus is magical. And if you've ever eaten Mexican food, I'm sure you've sometimes tasted these tasty nopales. So if you go to my Instagram, the Polar Homestead, I've put there some pictures of my cactus setup. You can look at the pictures. So basically you need some kind of pot where you put your cactus, and then you just let it grow. It is something like the equivalent of potatoes, but in cactus. You just drop the cactus in the floor, you put some water, and it will grow. And this cactus will do very well with no care, and it will do amazingly if you take care of it. And it basically loves nitrogen. So you feed it a lot of organic compost rich in nitrogen, it will just grow like crazy. Like every month, every 3 weeks, you could be harvesting a small crop of nopales for your own consumption. You can go online, you can do some research about it, and you will see that it is extremely easy to grow this cactus for human consumption. I mean, there are a lot of options of crops and food that you can grow indoors, in a balcony or even inside your house, if you don't have a garden, or if you don't have any piece of land, or if you live in a northern climate like I do. I have 6-7 months of winter with heavy snow here where I live. So here we have to be very creative. So I do grow a lot of stuff indoors. Even if you have a greenhouse here where I am, you have to heat the greenhouse, because we do go to -25, -30, -35 during winter. So even if you have your greenhouse and if it is not heated, you will not be able to grow anything. So it all depends on where you live and what are your personal conditions. There is also shortcuts here and there of how to get some fresh food, yeah. My favorite shortcut is to use the magical process of sprouting. You can get fresh, tasty greens. You can eat almost anything. I mean, the greens of seeds of anything that is edible. So the key is just to sprout it. You eat the greens and you get your nutrition from this. So you could be storing some grains in long-term containers, like for 20 years or whatever. Then you try to sprout them, and then you get your greens for human consumption. There are some particular easy easy to sprout seeds. Like my favorite, and I think the easiest one to sprout is lentils. I mean, I had lentils which are 3, 4, 5 years old. That they haven't been taken care of at all, just forgotten there in a shelf somewhere. I've tried to sprout them, and believe it or not, they have sprouted, and actually fast. So if you're thinking about growing your own food for your own consumption in the long term, I mean, there are many options, and you can go as big as you want, as complicated as you want. It's all about the desire of doing it. Also, if you want to be self-reliant, I mean, this is the main topic of this year. As the world around us, as society collapses, you have to think about yourself and how to take care of yourself, yeah? So food production for your own consumption, this is a key aspect of survival. So if you're thinking long term, you need to think about. So if you are thinking about the long term, you need to think about protein. Growing vegetables or a few vegetables here and there might be easy or not as complicated and difficult as to get protein. And actually, in nature, protein sources for native people, like human tribes, it is, and it has usually been difficult to get. So if you were like out there in the wilderness and you needed to get some protein sources, it would be difficult, as it is today for tribes living in the wild. So there are a few options for the conscious prepper that wants to have a reliable source of protein. If you have a small piece of land or some kind of medium-sized garden, an option of a protein source would be rabbits. You would not believe me, but just one pair of rabbits, healthy rabbits, per year they can produce up to 50 baby rabbits. Did you know this? I didn't know this up to maybe last year when I was researching how to get your own protein. I was like literally shocked by this. So one pair of rabbits, it can give you in 1 year baby rabbits, which you can grow them to adulthood, or let's say something like a full meal size, yeah, from 6 months to 1 year. So rabbits are a very profitable protein source. The vegetable opposite are the potatoes. 10x multiplier of profit you get from one potato. You put in the dirt 10 kilograms of potato. If you fertilize it good, you should expect 100 kilograms of potatoes. So, and this is even better from 2 little rabbits to 2 adult rabbits. That is just nuts. Another source of protein that I've been researching I mean, we are not going to talk about bugs because, I mean, that's just not to my taste. And also the world governments currently are pushing people to supplement their food with bugs or insect protein powder to make you synthetic hamburgers or whatever. But actually, what they are not telling you is that insects have a compound in their bodies which is toxic to humans. Did you know this? It's very well researched, very well known, but they are not telling you about it. It is toxic to humans, it accumulates, and it is the source of all evils and allergies. So what I have been researching the last year is how to set up an indoor farm of giant African land snails. Yep, that's right, you heard me correctly. Giant snails from Africa. Have you ever been to France? Have you ever eaten escargots? Have you? If you have, you would know that they are very tasty, very delicious. And if you just ate the dish without knowing what it is, you really wouldn't know the difference of what this is. You wouldn't know that it is a snail. And land snails, they are a mollusk. So if you like seafood, so practically you are eating the same. And mollusks, snails, they have been part of the human diet for hundreds of thousands of years. As a matter of fact, did you know that in ancient Rome, the food of the poor people, this was oysters? Did you know this? Ancient Romans, they used to eat oysters for breakfast, lunch and dinner almost. Or at least that was the food of the commoners. That's an interesting fact just for you. Anyhow, talking about the giant African land snail, they are very easy to keep, very productive. I mean, productive as in each time they reproduce, they also put a ridiculous amount of eggs, which turn eventually into adult snails. And the same like rabbits, you only need one pair of snails to start your farm. And also check this out, you don't need to know if it is a boy or a girl, because snails, they are hermaphrodites. So literally you just need 2 snails and that's all you need to start your farm. So probably next podcast I will go into detail on how you set up a big glass aquarium or terrarium to turn it into a habitat for giant African land snails. They are literally almost effortless to keep, to take care of, and to, I mean, when the time comes to turn them into food, this is the easiest source of protein that you could get. And so the main idea here is that if you live in a place with a cold climate, you can have them indoors. If you live in a place with a good warm climate, you can keep them outside in the garden and they will be used fine. So next podcast I will go into detail on how to open your snail farm. So be sure to check out my Instagram, I post pictures there on my setups, on my plants, on my African snails and stuff. And I will see you around before the apocalypse or after the apocalypse.
Can't you see through this fogginess how much I wanna be with you? Let me clean up this mess, create something new. We will bring some brightness, we will see this through. Learn how to forgive us, not be so hard on ourselves. Ain't gonna leave you once again. Ain't gonna leave you once again. Ain't gonna leave you once again. Ain't gonna lose you once again. Ain't gonna lose you once again. Ain't gonna lose you once again. Once again. We will bring some brightness. We will bring some brightness. Let's go through this fearless. It's the right thing to do. Let's try to go back to what we knew. We will bring some brightness. We will see this through. Learn how to forgive us, not be so hard on ourselves. Ain't gonna leave you once again.